So this recording is for C++ Midterm Project. This project is a budget tracking program designed to help users manage household finances over a set period of time. It allows the user to input actual versus planned spending for specific categories like housing and food. The program then calculates the total cost and variances, ultimately generating a summary that highlights exactly where the user exceeds their budget. So we're going to run this program. And first it's going to ask you for the time period. So it starts with first month, and we'll do 2 months. The mortgage payment is $3,500. Mortgage budget is $3,500. These are your fixed costs, so that's what you're going to enter first. Home insurance is another fixed cost. $200 for budget and $200 for actual. And then you'll enter the variable costs for the month, for each month. Electricity cost is $500, water is $25, gas is $10, internet is $100, groceries is $1,000, restaurant expenses is $200, and then you'll get prompted for the second month of variable expenses. $400 for electricity, water cost is $30, gas is $20, internet is $100, groceries is $1,100, restaurant is $250. And then you'll enter the budget for the variable costs. Electric bill is $500, water is $30, gas is $20, internet is $100, budget food cost $1,000, restaurant $200, and the cost of total maintenance is $200. Budget is $200. Renovation cost is $3,500. Renovation budget is $2,000. So it tells you that your total expense is $14,835 per month. You only budgeted for $13,300. You're over your budget by groceries, restaurants, and renovation. You exceed your budget by $1,535. If you go back to the code, first thing you want to do is include the IOStream library. It's used for the input-output operations, CIN and COUT. And then you use the limits library, which provides numeric limits used to clear the invalid input for the stream. And you're using the namespace standard, which allows you to use CIN and COUT without writing STD::CIN or STD::COUT. And then you have your main method. And then the variables, you have your fixed costs, fixed variables for the start of the month, end of the month, and the number of the months that you that are in the range. So they're both ints since they're whole numbers. And while your condition is true, you use a while loop to enter the starting month and ending month. And if you enter an invalid number, you use this CN, the if CN fail statement. Use this loop to determine if the user entered a numeric entered an alphabet a letter instead of a number. So you prompt them that if they did enter an invalid number, to enter a numeric value. And then what happens is the CN clears, and which clears a flag so that you can continue to input something from the user. And then it will do a CN ignore, which removes the invalid input from the buffer. And if you don't have this line, then the program will continue an infinite loop. And if the number is start month is less than 1, then it's going to ask you to enter the number 1, or it must be at least number 1. Else, you get an invalid input, which you break out of the while loop, which turns it false. And then their same loop type situation is set up for validating the ending month too. And then calculate the number of months in the range. You take the end month minus the start month plus 1. And then declare the fixed month expenses, which is mortgage budget, insurance, and insurance budget. And then you prompt the user to enter the payments for the month. And if it's not numeric, it will prompt you to put in numeric, and the amount can't be negative, so it prompts you to put in a positive number if you enter an amount less than 0. Otherwise, if it's a correct number, then you break out of the loop. And you enter the insurance, the mortgage, insurance, and then you come to the variable costs. The variable costs will change monthly. So, and then you want to use a double because you're doing decimal points. So for the number of months that you enter, that was calculated, in our example, it was 2. We're going to loop through this twice. It's going to ask you that it's going to set up a double temp to take hold of the validating temporary variable for validating the input. So it's going to prompt you to enter the expense for the first month and then for each variable cost. So for this one, for an example, is electricity costs. While the while loop is true, then it's going to prompt you to enter the electricity costs. And then you have the same similar setup for the CN fail statement. If you enter a letter, then you're going to get the invalid input. If you enter a number that's less than 0, then it's going to say amount cannot be negative. Otherwise, what happens is it updates the electricity budget total with the temp number that you entered. and then it breaks out. And you go through the same type of loop for water, gas, internet, groceries, and the restaurant. And then you're going to be prompted for the budget variables. So you're going to enter it once. So that's why you don't have an if loop anymore. You go into a while loop, and it'll prompt you to enter the electricity budget, water budget, gas budget, internet budget, grocery budget, restaurant budget, maintenance costs and maintenance budget, renovation costs and renovation budget. Those are your additional expenses. And then at the end, it'll calculate as a double the total expenses that you had. And then it'll also calculate the total budget that you had. And it'll compare the two and tells you what your total expense is, and calculates and tells you the accumulated total of the total budget. And then it displays which items are exceeding the budget. And it'll give you a list. And it'll tell you if, in this if statement, if you have entered if your budget was exceeding your if your expenses exceeded your total budget, or if your expenses if your budget exceeded your total expenses. And what I didn't show was if you entered the wrong invalid information. So if you start month at 0, it's going to prompt you to say, no, you need to enter something that's at least 1. So you enter 1. In the ending month, if you put 1, it'll accept it. And if you enter a letter, it's going to say you put an invalid input, so enter a numeric value. So you type in a numeric value and it won't complain to you anymore. And that's the end of the program.